Okay, guys, can we do a story time?
Yeah.
I have never, ever seen this book before. I've never seen it, but it does remind me. Who's that?
Mama Lou.
That's right, that's Mama Lou. Where's Mama Lou?
Heaven. In heaven.
In heaven or somewhere. She's in my heart. Anyway. This when Mama Lou and when I was little and Mama Lou was very young, yes.
Like the house looks like a secret house, right?
It totally looks like a secret house. It does. It does. It looks like a secret house. Look, the way that they're building it, it looks like a total secret house. Mama Lou had this thing about these books that were called I'm trying to remember now. Peter Rabbit. Peter Rabbit was one of her favorite book series. And I wanna say what else? Frog and Toad and Frog, something like that. Beatrice Potter. That's it. She was really into the Beatrice Potter. And this is not Beatrice Potter, but it really reminds me of that, the art style. This is called, can anyone read this? Can anyone read that? Do you want to try? Go ahead. Adventures. That says in, actually. Adventures in, the letters are kind of funky, right? Adventures in.
Rain.
That says Fern. Adventures in Fern Hollow. That's right. Adventures in Fern Hollow. I don't think this is one story. I think that this is like many stories. Okay, so let's just read the first one. Okay, I've never even opened this book before. I've actually How cool is that?
Like a map.
Yeah, it is a map.
Map?
It is a map. And you know what that looks like to me? That looks like Lord of the Rings. This to me, this looks like Middle Earth. This looks like a map of Middle Earth. One of my favorite books ever of my entire life is called The Lord of the Rings. And it's not one book, it's actually like 3 books. And it's this awesome, it's totally, that's where Star Wars comes from. Star Wars is deeply influenced by Lord of the Rings. And Lord of the Rings has always, every book, all the 3 books of Lord of the Rings, when you open them up, they have these really cool maps. And this shows you Fern Hollow. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. We'll look at that more later. Okay, look at that. These are all the stories that are in this book. And look, how many stories are there? Count them with me, okay? There is
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8. There's 8 stories. And this one is called Mr. Rusty's New House. I have a friend named Rusty in my hometown in Victoria. He's got hilarious hair. He's a really funny guy. He's got like a disco mustache and he's got like super funny hair. Yes, what is it? That says low battery and I think we're okay. I think we're still going. Yeah, I think we're still going. Yeah, we're still going. Okay, no worries. Mr. Rusty's New House, Muddles at the Manor, The Midsummer Banquet, Miss Merriweather's Letter, Granny Bouncer's Rescue, Sigmund's Birthday Surprise, The Tortoise Fair, Brock the Balloonist. Well, we're gonna read this one, Mr. Rusty's New House. Yeah, I think this guy is Mr. Rusty, and they probably call him Mr. Rusty because he is the color of rust. What kind of animal is he?
A fox.
Say he's a fox.
He's a fox.
He's an anthropomorphic fox. All of these animals are anthropomorphic. Everyone say anthropomorphic. That means that you're making animals to look like, see how they walk like humans? That's probably a hedgehog. That's how a hedgehog is walking like a total human, wearing pants and shoes like Goofy. I always wondered about Disney. Like there's Goofy, right, and Pluto. What kind of animal is Goofy?
Dog.
Say he's a dog.
He's a dog.
Well, what kind of animal is Pluto?
Dog.
So wait a minute. Why does Goofy walk around on 2 legs like a person with pants and clothes, and he talks? but Pluto runs around on four legs like a doggy, and he can't talk at all. Like, what's going on there, Disney? I don't know. Anyway, let's go. Moving on. Let's start this out. One morning, Rufus Rusty woke up with something dripping on his forehead. Blip, blip, blip. Oh no! Cried Rufus to his brother, Redvers, who is in the lower bunk. That's Redvers, and that's Rufus Rusty. The roof is leaking! Never mind, giggled Redvers. I'm quite dry down here. That guy's pretty selfish, hey? Pretty selfish. He doesn't care. He's not thinking about other people. He's just laughing. He's laughing at his brother. He doesn't care because he's on the bunk bed. We have a bunk bed here, don't we? That's where you guys like to play, right?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to play under the bunk bed? Guys, you got to talk when I'm talking to you. Are you allowed to play under the bunk bed?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
You're actually not supposed to play under the bunk bed because you get too close to each other. We got to space out, social distancing. Rufus leapt out of his soggy bed and ran to tell his mother and father. But they were already running around with pots and pans trying to catch the rain, which was leaking into their bedroom. It was the same in Dusty's room.
Joshua,
Yes.
like maybe friend's house, maybe that's the
Maybe a friend's house. Maybe their friends will also. Yeah, because it's from the rain, right? It's from the rain. So I think probably lots of people's houses are going to get like that. This is like a leaky condo. That was a big problem in Canada. Lots of people would buy a condo and then they'd find out it was leaky. They'd move into it right away and then it'd start leaking. They'd be like, I just paid for this and it's leaking. It's hardly worth having a roof at all if it's going to leak like this, said Mrs. Rusty. That's Mrs. Rusty. Look at her in her super Grammy pajamas. Her nightie. Okay. Eventually, Mr. Rusty managed to find enough pots and pans to catch all the drips. Then, after eating his breakfast, he set off for work at the railway station, where he was the engine driver. As he left, Mr. Rusty closed the front door. He closed the front door behind him, and it fell off. This is a total leaky condo situation. This house sucks. This house where they live, it's totally lame. It's bad. Look at that. They got gremlins or something. Do you guys know what gremlins are? Gremlins. My friend Chris Wallace, he designed the gremlins from the movie Gremlins. Gremlins are like these little monsters that get into everything, like into machinery, and they break everything. But this house kind of has like a gremlin situation, maybe. This guy works at the train station. Do we have a train station close to us? What train station?
Sapporo Station.
That's right. We have Sapporo Station right next to us, and there's barely anyone there at all right now because of the state of emergency. All right. Moving on. All day long, things went wrong with Mr. Rusty's house. Soot fell down the chimney. The window stuck and wouldn't open. Mrs. Rusty fell through the floorboards, which became rotten. Oh man, this house is going broke. This house is going broke. It's going to heck in a handbasket. I wish we had a new house, she moaned. Yeah, this place is going bad. Who's been to my house before? Is my house like that?
No.
What's my house like?
Cool.
It's cool. What's in my house?
I went there 4 times.
You've been to my house 4 times. What's in my house? What's in my house?
I forgot.
You forgot? You were sleepy. We were doing a Star Wars party and you were falling asleep. You were falling asleep. 3 TVs. Yes, I have 3 TVs. That's right. One in the music room, one in the living room, and one in the bedroom. The one in the living room is for mostly movies and Xbox. The one in the music room is for PlayStation 4. And then the one in the bedroom is for old school. That's like old like PlayStation 1, like old RPGs and stuff. Anyway, moving on. There are houses just falling apart. Look at this. That night, there was a terrible thunderstorm. Lightning flashed around the sky and it rained cats and dogs. Cats and dogs. Have you ever heard me say that before? It's raining cats and dogs. Raining cats and dogs. Raining cats and dogs. That means it's raining really heavy. It's raining super, super heavy. Do you guys know what animal that guy is?
Dog.
Yeah, it looks like a dog, right? It's not a dog. That's a badger. That's a badger.
Badger is about.
Badger's like a big grumpy weasel. It's like a big grumpy weasel. This is all set in England, right? This is all set in England, in the UK. And a badger is a really grumpy kind of weasel-like animal that lives in the UK.
Like a cow.
Like a cow? He's nothing like a cow. He's carnivorous. Yeah, that guy's carnivorous. He does a cow is a total herbivore. Look at that house. Look at that cool. How cool is that? The lightning's flashing outside and they got like tree house. That looks so, I would have flipped out over that when I was your guys' age. I would have loved that. Totally loved that. In the morning, the river Fernie, which had become swollen with all the rain, overflowed and rushed down into the hollow where Mr. Rusty's house stood. The water crept up higher and higher until at last Mr. Rusty and his family had to climb up onto the roof. It's a flood. It's a flood. Everyone say flood. This is a flood. This is a flood when it rains too much and then a river or the ocean or something comes in and like spreads water everywhere. That's called a flood. One more time, everybody say flood. Flood. It's called a flood. That's right. That happened last year to Toyohira River. Like I live in Toyohira, across Toyohira River from here, right? And last year it too flooded. It flooded. Lots of places last year flooded with all the raining. And then we got coronavirus. Holy cats. It's just like giant earthquake, then flooding, then world-killing super virus. Like enough already, hey? Mr. Periwinkle. Who's Mr. Periwinkle? I bet this is Mr. Periwinkle. Oh, no, that's Mr. Periwinkle. Mr. Periwinkle, the postman, came riding down the lane and saw Mr. Rusty and his family all perched on their cottage roof. He was so surprised that he fell off his bicycle. Splat! Look, he's got a bicycle like me. Don't worry, Mr. Rusty, cried Mr. Periwinkle, scrambling to his feet. I'll ride over to the fire station and get Alfonso Duff and Mr. Bouncer. They'll know what to do. Mr. Bouncer, is he like a nightclub bouncer? He's like a big, heavy, like muscly, bald dude with like lots of tattoos and something. Mr. Bouncer. I can't wait to see whoever this Mr. Bouncer guy. Or, I get it, he's Mr. Bouncer. Because he's a rabbit. Bounce, 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 bounce. That's why they're calling him Mr. Bouncer, right? I get it. I understand. The Fern Hollow firemen soon arrived and began the rescue operation, extending the ladder on top of the fire engine all the way across the floodwater to the Rusty family's roof. Look at this, more hedgehogs, hey? Rufus and Redfurs thought it was all great fun until they both lost their balance as they were climbing along the ladder and fell into the water. Splash! Yeah, they were messing around, weren't they? See? That's what happens when you mess around. We know somebody like that who messes around all the time. Mr. Prickles. That's probably this guy right here, the hedgehog. Mr. Prickles had been watching the rescue and realizing that the Rusty family would now have nowhere to live, he invited them to stay with him for a while. The kind hedgehog soon made a nice warm fire, and Mrs. Prickles gave each of the foxes a bowl of steaming hot soup. Hey guys, how do you say one in Spanish? Uno. That's right. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco. Do you know why I speak Spanish? Situation like this, when I was a really little kid, from when I was like 8 years old to 12 years old, there was a Chilean family, a family from Chile, which is in South America, and they speak Spanish. And they let me stay with them All the time, and that's how I learned Spanish. That's super cool. Steaming hot soup. These guys are really nice, hey. They're letting Rusty's family. Rusty's family is coming to stay with them because their house got wrecked. That happened a lot here too. When all the flooding happened, other people opened up their homes. But no way that would happen now, not with coronavirus. People can't share their homes now. That's the whole problem. People can't get close to each other. Later in the day, Mr. Rusty heard a lot of noise outside Mr. Prickle's house and went outside to see what was happening. A little further down the lane, Brock Gruffy and a few other animals had started to build Mr. Rusty a new house.
Joshua,
Yes.
fall down there, everybody gonna go there. Just the two people lost there.
Yeah, well, they did those. What, these guys?
Yeah.
They fell in the water, but they didn't lose them. They're still around. Like, look, see, same pants, right? Same pants. So I think that's Redverse. Is that Redverse? I think that's Redverse. I'm not sure, but it's the same guy. So they didn't lose them. Mr. Rusty set to work himself at once. There was plenty to be done. Hammering and sawing, cement to make, and bricks to lay. It was a lucky thing for Mr. Rusty and his family. They had so many good friends to help them. Yeah, they're lucky, hey. They're super lucky. It took quite a long time to build the house, but each day a little more was done. The walls grew up and the roof was put on. The tiles were laid and the windows and the doors were fitted. And at last, Mr. Rusty's new house was finished. Look at that house. That's amazing. That is just amazing. It's beautiful.
Look, everybody come.
Everybody's coming over. It's like going to be we'd call that a welcoming party, or what's that called? I can't remember right now, but when you have a party, and housewarming, that's what it is. It's a housewarming. They're having a housewarming. So they're going to warm up the house with love. All these friends are going to come over and spread some love. Look how beautiful that moon is, right? Sky there. Super starry, and that's called a crescent moon. It's called a crescent moon. Of course, all the furniture from the flooded house was useless, but Mr. Rusty's friends each gave her bits and pieces from their homes, and Mr. Chips and the woodman arrived with lots of tables, chairs, and cupboards, which he made. Wow, these guys are so lucky. That night, Mr. Rusty held a housewarming party housewarming, just like I said. Housewarming party to thank all of his friends for their kind help. It was a very jolly party. The air around Mr. Rusty's new house was filled with the sound of singing and laughter, and the lights of the windows twinkled merrily in the darkness. Yes.
Maybe he gonna give it to everyone. Yeah?
He's gonna give something, like a present.
Like that one.
He's this guy is going to give he's giving this furniture to Rusty's family, because they built a new house and now they need furniture to sit on, because what are you going to do, go inside and have nowhere to sit, right? Got to have somewhere to sit, right? There we go. Oh, and I think that's the end. Is that the actual end? That's the actual end of the story. How wonderful are all these people? Do you think that could happen in real life? There's like flooding and people just make you a new house, and there you go, here's your new house. Everything okay? Cool, there you go. I think even in Japan that probably could not happen. I don't think that you could have everybody just coming together and here you go, here's your new house. And it would be like totally free. There'd be like an insurance thing. There'd be like, I don't know. I don't think it could work like that. Like maybe in a tiny community, but not anywhere in normal modern society would a community be able to come together like that and just build you a new house and go, here you go. That's super awesome. Did you guys like that story?
Yeah.
That was a fantastic story.
Like Joshua's house.
This is like my house. It is kind of like my house, except I don't live in my new place that I'm moving into.
Like that is me and that is Joshua and
Yeah. Well, we're gonna enjoy my new place so much. I think Mama Lou would have loved this story. This is exactly the kind of story that she loves. Okay, everybody say, see you later, alligator.
See you